My family have all come to celebrate my marriage, but my husband is showing his true colors. I, a 29-year-old Canadian woman, met my now husband, a 29-year-old Egyptian-Canadian man, through a dating app in early 2021. We already knew each other through friends from the same university. I liked him right away, and a year later, we got engaged. After 2 months, we had our cat al-Khitab, which is the Islamic ceremony for marriage. It was only Qudus family, so it was very small. After 4.5 months, we will have our wedding dinner. In 1 week, we're under a lot of pressure to make the wedding work since we just bought our first home and are already pretty busy. My husband has a new job, and I have a job that is known for being very stressful. I know I haven't been my best self lately. I've just been trying to make ends meet and get through each day. The red flag is next. My husband is a funny and interesting person. He is noisy. I am too. Since the first time I met him, I've liked how he is as a person. But lately there's less humor and more comments on world politics. Sometimes right-wing conspiracy theories, or what I would call conspiracy theories. When I get involved, it seems like it quickly turns into a fight, no matter what I do. When I object to his tone or personal attacks, I get yelled at or told that I'm trying to make him look bad. More and more, he's yelling at me. Today, his whole family was there. It was a big deal. I sobbed. It was because I argued with his family when they told me they had already made the seating chart for their guests even though they didn't have the full list of guests. I didn't think I was being rude when I said that I had to work from the draft I already had because I knew it had all of the guests on it. I told her that if I got something wrong, she could move the tables from the next room. My husband yelled at me because I had said that his mom didn't know who was coming. Then he yelled that we were the ones yelling, not him. Even though I knew I shouldn't have, I told him he was being immature. I told him to stop yelling in front of our 9, 7, and 1-year-old boys. If he was going to yell, I told him to stay out of it. We finished making the seating plan, and I went to stay day with my out-of-town parents. I hadn't heard from my husband in the 5 hours since the event. When I left, I quickly hugged everyone, including my husband. He did not show me the way to my car. Even at home, he's been yelling at me more. I haven't talked about certain things at all. At one point, it got physical, and he put his hand on my neck. Sometimes he pushes me, which is really embarrassing in public. I've told him that that's not how they treat each other. I've told him that's not how I want to be treated. I've told him don't yell at me and don't push me. And I've also promised to call his bigger brothers. I'm sure I'm more upset than usual right now for a number of reasons, but I'm starting to worry that I'm just not seeing what's going on. Can I just let it go and pray for things to change? What else can I do to make a difference? Do you think this is a way to deal with stress? In this case, what would you tell your sister to do? We appreciate your time. Please be kind because I care. About my husband and not knowing what to do to make the throat grab situation clearer. We got into a big argument because I felt like he hadn't talked to me before leaving his last job, and I was under a lot of financial stress. The catch is that he had already told me about it, and I had agreed with him then forgotten. I haven't eaten enough, so my memory isn't as good as it could be. I'm trying to change that. I was yelling at him, and he was yelling back. He grabbed me but let go of me right away and walked away. I was angry and ashamed. When we talked about it, he said that what he did was wrong, but he did what he should have done. He stopped and walked away. Basically, he didn't let it get any worse than scaring me. I wasn't hurt. I was just upset. Still, what he did was wrong, and he has apologized for it. But I understand that he must have been very angry when I yelled at him for something I'd happily agreed to just a few days before. News for the next day. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. This thread made me decide whether to accept his apology or call him out on his behavior. I told him today that if he yells at me again, I won't put up with it. At first, he got angry and said, "Fine, then call off the wedding." At that point, I called my dad right in front of him and told him everything, including the throat grab. Then I called his oldest brother and told him everything. His mother and oldest brother are on their way here to help solve the problem so I don't get hung up on. I called a coworker after the call. I sent her a quick text to catch her up, waiting for everyone to arrive. The husband apologizes a lot. Change looks likely. He wants to keep the wedding from being cancelled. I'm not going to take it anymore when people treat me badly. We're going to talk about all of it when his brother and mother come. Sorry ahead of time. It's been a hard day. but I thought you might like to know that I'm okay. So here's a report. I slept at my parents' house last night. I didn't hear from my husband. When I woke up, I called him around 9 a.m. to see if he was going to the photographer's meeting. He said yes, so I picked him up and took him with me. We just said thanks for getting the gas and where's the appointment, and that was about it. After our meeting with the photographer, we left the city to go back to our own city, which was about an hour away. About 20 minutes into the ride, I said that we needed to talk about the fight from the day before. He wanted to know what we should talk about. I told him, first of all, you yelled at me in front of your family. He didn't seem to want to say. As my friend and I walked around the yard, she told me that I had changed and become less sure of myself since moving in with my husband. She told me that she and her husband are there for me and are proud of me for sticking up for myself. God bless good friends. Anything, so I kept talking and told him I won't take being yelled at anymore. It's rude, and I've already made it clear that I won't stand for it. He started to get angry and fight back. I yelled too. He's worried. I was trying to figure out where he should sit, etc. I told him that wasn't the point. It doesn't matter why he was screaming. I won't take it anymore when people yell at me. I need this to change, or I can't be with someone who treats me badly for the rest of my life. He said, well, I'm not changing, so just cancel the wedding. He quickly changed his mind, but I didn't call my dad until I was right in front of him. I called my dad and told him as clearly as I could that my husband's emotional abuse has gotten worse since we moved in together. I also told him about how he grabbed my throat and shoved me in public. While I told my dad this, my husband was quietly talking next to me. For real, you really want to involve them in this, in my ear, etc. I didn't pay attention to him and kept talking to my dad. This said a lot. I told my dad everything, and we made a plan to keep everyone safe. When we got to our city, I called him, and when my husband left, I called him again. My dad keeps telling me that I don't have to go through with the wedding and that abuse usually gets worse over time. I told my dad that I didn't know if I should go through with the wedding, and he said that was the right thing to say. He also reminded me that I didn't have to make a choice today. I asked my dad, are you calling your mom or am I? After I called him, he said I should. I called his oldest brother instead since his parents are old. I told him everything, and he talked to us on the phone for a while. He didn't understand what I told him and criticized what his brother had done. We get home, and my husband tells me that we're not putting off the wedding or getting a divorce, that he's sorry and will agree to counseling and so on. We get a call on the phone. His mother and oldest brother are on their way to our city to help solve the problem. I immediately called my parents. They didn't like the idea of his family being in charge of mediation. I trust my oldest brother-in-law a lot, so I wasn't too worried, but I still called a friend to come help me. My friend got there before me. I told her what I had already told my husband's parents. She helped people talk to each other and pointed out that my husband was trying to downplay how often he touched me. She said it makes sense that I don't trust my husband to change when, up until today, he had said over and over again that he wouldn't go to counseling. Before my brother-in-law and sister-in-law came, my friend and I walked around the yard. We all sat in the living room when they got there. My Bill told everyone that they couldn't talk at the same time. I told my story in as few words as possible. I argued the threats my husband had made to me that I had written down on my phone's notepad. I told him that my husband would not go to counseling even though I had been asking for months. Then my Bill asked my husband if he agreed with what I had said. My husband started by saying that he had grabbed my throat because she kind of ran at me, and I put my hand out to stop her, but yes, I did. So I made it clear. I said, no, we were fighting, and you got mad at me and grabbed my throat out of frustration. I wasn't coming at you, and you weren't afraid of me or trying to stay away from me. Is that true? Asked his brother. So my husband gave in. At this point, my Bill said that the violence was not okay. He said that cancelling the Saturday reception isn't a big deal because either the relationship is over or we need to work on it for a long time to fix what's wrong and see if a good relationship can be built at all. He made it clear that he will back whatever decision I make in the future, and he will make sure I don't have to pay off all the wedding debt. While my husband was packing to go back to his family's house, my brother-in-law and I talked about how the wedding setting could be used for a family gathering for all of his family who would be flying in. My 1049 gave me a hug, a kiss, and a message that she loves me. Now I'm in bed with my cat curled up like a potato. Thanks to God, Thank you to all of you wonderful people who cared so much about me and were so worried about me. Thank you for your brave and helpful words. We appreciate your thoughts.